Hello everyone and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And I think this is the first one of December. In fact, I'm certain of that fact. There might be a second one in December, I'm not sure. It depends how much I get painted towards the tail end of the month, as it gets closer to Christmas and New Year, obviously. So I might slow down a little bit. But as for today, from left to right, we have Fallout Wasteland Warfare, we have Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, we have Warcry / Age of Sigmar, and a little bit more Blood Bowl to throw in right at the tail end. So let's bring the camera down a little bit, zoom it in, and start talking about, well, let's do them in the boxes they came in. So I've had a bunch of old Fallout and Call to Arms miniatures sitting. I think I mentioned that last time, that I'm just getting through them as something to fill the gap while I'm taking a break from painting up kill teams. And these three, which is Kellogg, who is critical to the main path in Fallout 4, and I think these are the two synths bodyguards he has with him. They came as a pack together as kind of like an additional add-on to the core box for the, I was going to say the Initiative, that's not what it's called, the Institute, that's the one. So, I again, it's Modiphius resin, so it doesn't play nice, but did my best, except with this one. I'm going to openly admit I phoned this one in, so you know what, let's start with them. They also have dumb names, it's like X8184 and someone else, because they have synth names, so I'm not going to be really helpful there in remembering them. But this one, it was mostly just the spray painted Grey Seer base coat with Army Painter Rust on top, and then Agrax Earthshade on top of that. Besides that, it was Militarum Green for the RPG he's holding, with a little bit of Bal Red and the Yandin Yellow. Not Yandin, sorry, that is Imperial Fish Yellow on the missile that he's waiting to load into the thing. The base is just Leadbelcher Silver with, again, Army Painter Dry Rust brushed over it, and Agrax Earthshade on top of that. Simple enough. You can actually see, like, where it's especially white, like for instance the back of that knee and the back of that shin, that is just where after a spray paint, after a little bit of touching up with a Grey Seer from just the pot of paint, it just still wouldn't stick. Like, that's the base coat plus a dry brushing plus a wash. It's not even a contrast paint on top of it, and it still just does that sometimes. These are older, these are 2018, yeah, 2017, 2018 were the worst time for the bad resin Modiphius uses, so yeah, it's no surprise, but it's still unfortunate. Kellogg, I think, probably turned out the best of the bunch. Once he comes into focus, you may or may not agree, it's up to you. In terms of colours used, that's Militarum Green again for his pants, Leadbelcher Silver for the various straps and such, Rattling Grime for his boots, and Black Templar, Black Legion? No, Black Templar, for his leather jacket, Leadbelcher Silver for his pistol, Guilliman Flesh for skin tone, and Agrax Earthshade over the top, and his base was done in the exact same way as the one I just mentioned. Again, I hope he is in focus. They are also on the smaller side, these old ones, which I guess in part is why Modiphius is moving to a larger scale for Fallout Wasteland Warfare in 2026. That's probably going to be the jumping off point for me, incidentally, in terms of not picking up anything new, because it makes everything else look out of scale. And I've had enough of that with the Batman miniature game, and I really hate the mismatched scaling. It bothers my OCD. So yeah, that will be my jumping off point for sure. But there's still lots of old miniatures I never picked up that hopefully will come down in price as a result of the new edition with the new scale. Anyway, this is the other synth. I did Black Templar for all his leather jacket. They actually have kind of like a brown tone jacket in the video game, I think, so I sort of messed that up. I couldn't quite tell, and I couldn't remember, and I haven't played Fallout 4 for a little bit now, quite what colour the synth's jackets are. Maybe they are black, but either way, I did a little bit of edge highlighting with the Fang just to add some form of detail, maybe make it look like he's in the process of activating his Stealth Boy. And besides that, the other colours I was talking about, Wildwood for his hair, Guilliman Flesh for the brief bit of skin in his face that's showing, and that is Snakebite Leather, Rattling Grime, Agrax Earthshade for his base. And I hated how the Institute weapons looked in Fallout 4, by the way. These chunky white and red things, did not like them in terms of weaponry at all, compared to like the standard laser guns. But anyway, that was a pack I've had sitting for literally maybe 4 years, 5 years now maybe, and that is them done. And it's always the most satisfying part of that kind of thing is when you're done. I mentioned this before, you're done, you can clean away your box that you kept for reference if you're trying to match up the colours as best you can, and it feels like completing a quest in a video game, and you earn some XP and the dopamine because you've finished a project. So I love when that happens. So still sticking with Fallout, but this is a different box. Same type of situation, a box I picked up super cheap because I found it super cheap. Miscellaneous generals from Caesar's army from Fallout New Vegas, which is also part of Wasteland Warfare. And so this is Legat Longius, I don't know, it's the guy it's the final boss. He's so utterly forgettable. Although my friend remembered his name. I quizzed him on stream. Like, do you remember the last boss's name in New Vegas? And yeah, he did, to be fair. It's definitely Legat and then another L word, but I've forgotten it again. So I used Retributor Armour, which is becoming my new favourite gold paint for sure, with non-oil on top. The reds are Flesh Tearer reds. We'll be talking about that more in the next getting stuff painted as well. We're still going to talk about it for these models too, but I'm using it a lot on painting up some more vampires for Call to Arms. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of Flesh Tearer red over the next couple of videos, just the way things work out. Leadbelcher Silver for his big sword, and Black Legion, a Black Templar rather. Not much to say. I do like his armor. It's so stupid in the context of like retro future Fallout that there's just a guy wearing like Roman armor, but he's tall, he's imposing, he's got a huge sword, and as forgettable as he is as a final boss, he's still pretty fun, and he has his head screwed on right, unlike Caesar, who's going a bit mental. But yeah, as everyone will know if you played the game. So he is joined by Lupus, someone or other, and someone or other. I don't remember these guys. I've never once ever sided with Caesar's Legion in New Vegas because they're just so utterly horrible. I can't bring myself to do it. I find it a little difficult to do that kind of thing with the stuff they do and you hear about them doing. So I've never sided with Caesar's Legion. I've only sided with the NCR like once. Usually I just go the screw them both route because they're both horrible and just take over New Vegas for myself. But yeah, out of the NCR and Caesar's Legion is awful and I've never sided with them. But anyway, so I'm not familiar with like their lieutenants and generals and such and the people directly under Caesar. I think I've played through their storyline just far enough to kill Caesar with the brain problem he's got and then just bailed on them. I've never followed through to completion with them ever. Anyway, hopefully that was in focus while I was blathering. So I was using mostly the same colours with the exception of Rattling Grime for their various body armour parts, just because it seemed to fit. I don't think these two turned out particularly well, but I was mostly in it for painting the big guy here. Also, this guy, whoever he is, one of the most impractical poses preparing a punch, and you'll probably look at it and think I've misassembled the hand. I haven't, or if I have, it's off by fractions of a millimeter. He is winding up to punch, right? But he's doing it up by his shoulder blade. So I try and do that yourself. Try and get your hand in that position so it's right next to the side of your head, like your elbow is above your fist. And imagine trying to punch with any force from that position. It is a poorly posed model. His hand should be stretched back out here and more elongated so that you're like ready to put a little bit of force behind your blow. It's a really bad pose, and that put me off particularly caring about painting him. So it was. I'm not going to shy away from saying it was a rush job. Yeah, he was the one I did last, and I just kind of went through it. Same colours and just got him done so I could say, hey look, I did another box, because that is just a stupid pose. So yeah, could have been better. Mostly Modiphius poses are like something you could argue some of them are dull, but they don't really get poses that bad that often. They do have a problem specifically with Call to Arms, where they sometimes have very inconsistent sword size and thickness, and that's down to them changing their resins and changing molds and such, because they're riding the line between swords being easily snappable or being so thick that they're hard to snap but they look stupid. The Thieves Guild box, particularly for chapter 4, that's really bad for super chunky, thick, silly looking swords, but I digress. Let's move on to Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, Modiphius' other big miniature game, since I am actually happy with how these two turned out, unlike 2 out of the 3 of those ones. And this is the start of me getting through the Castle Volkare, the vampires from the Dawnguard expansion for Skyrim. There's 3 or 4 releases for them. I think I actually own all of them as a result of just buying them over time from my channel sponsor. And I've finally gotten around to painting some of them. So I started with, I think it's I can't remember the name of the box, but it's not the core box. It comes with like a Master Vampire, a Mistwalker, someone else, a higher tier vampire, and 2 gargoyles. And I used a previously learned strat for these gargoyles that I think made them turn out pretty okay. I spray painted these black, and then I gave them a dry brushing of Dawnstone, a further dry brushing of Grey Seer, and then a little touch up with Ulthwyn Grey on the edges, and that is basically it for their bodies, besides a little bit of red for their mouth / pink. And that was it, and it's a good enough stone looking effect. I learned that from when I was doing the Hive Storm City terrain for Kill Team, so I just did the same thing and applied it here since they're living stone. And I do like the effect, I think they look pretty neat. For the bases, I dry brushed them pretty harshly with Grey Seer, so then I could use Basilicanum Grey contrast paint on top. I used Blood for the Blood God while the non-oil I put on was wet, and that's a nice trick for making your blood paint look even more blood-like, is apply it while you put a wash on that's still damp, and it kind of seeps in and it looks more like realistic blood, in my opinion. I'm open to being told no, but I think it looks more realistic in that case once it's mixed a little and it has that kind of that damp stickiness to it. And this one I used Gutripper Flesh, I think, for the stone around it, just because in the official paint job he is on green cobblestone, so I was just trying to match it up. So other than that, he is basically the same, hopefully in focus again, as I say. And I used a little Blood for the Blood God to make it look like he'd just finished killing someone and then went back to his post and just is kind of hiding. Like, yeah, that blood was always there. It's just me, a statue, reaching out with my claw. So these are pretty fun. They were not super long to paint, and yeah, they're neat. I am currently working on the vampires that came with those two gargoyles. As I say, they're not the main ones. They're not the core box either. It's not Verena. What's her name? Serena. Sorry, Serena, or her father, or anything like that. That'll be one day maybe. But yeah, just various high-ranking vampires that aren't particularly, they're not named ones from the expansion, they're just the higher class of enemies you fight eventually. So you'll definitely see at least one of those next time. I spoke earlier about the dopamine you feel when you finish a project, so I don't really have anything to say about these final 3 crypt ghouls other than, whoa, I finished all 10, and I actually find it hard to get through like little guys in massive amounts, 10-15 units that are all, I mean, even if they look different but the painting of them is the same. My attention span and desire for variety usually doesn't allow that to feel great. So if I get to the end of a project like this, 10 or 15 models, that feels really good. That feels better than just doing a box of 3 miniatures. So yeah, these are the final 3 crypt ghouls from the 10, or the 9 in my case, plus the hero one I made for Warcry. I've already talked at length about how I've been painting these. Yeah, I kind of rushed these because I just wanted them done. I'm glad they're done. I also like that this guy's just dragging along like a mostly decomposed body. It's pretty cool looking. I kind of wish I'd painted him earlier, so I would have taken a bit more time with him. But he still turned out okay, and I'm glad they are done. And that's, besides, I think I've got one last Flesh Terror Court thing I want to paint up, but it's a big project. Not lots of models, just because just one big model. So I'm probably not going to immediately jump into that. There we go, I think it's in focus now. Having just finished these guys off, but it's either probably going to be that or maybe just like a different unit entirely for Warcry. I'm not sure. I do have options just sitting for Warcry, so I'll just need to pick what the next Warcry thing is to do after that. And last but not least, this time we have a Vampire Blitzer for Blood Bowl. I don't know why that made my dog want to throw a toy around. Hang on, is it because I said vampire? It says a Vampire Blitzer. Nope, okay, whatever. I painted up a Vampire Blitzer for a Blood Bowl, and I talked about some of how I was painting the vampire team last time. I did a thrower, a runner, and a couple of the thralls. So to make my full 7s team, I need to paint this Blitzer. Obviously he's done now, here he is. I need to paint one more Blitzer and 2 more thralls of their thrall linemen, and then that'll be enough for 7s at the very least. But the goal is to try and push through and do all 14, because again, if I let them sit, it'll be like the Ogre team, which took me literally months to finish because I was just doing it piecemeal. I really hate doing that because I sometimes forget how I've been doing stuff, and I don't like the inconsistency. Speaking of inconsistency, unlike the capes for the thrower and the runner, I opted to make it red on both sides. It seems like that's how it is in the official paint job, and I wanted the Blitzers to stand out a little bit more, because Blitzers are usually among the player types that do the most things. Like, they're the ones you want to keep track of. Where are your Blitzers? Like, throwers are usually at the back, so you can tell where they are. Runners, well, sometimes runners want to stand out too. Thralls, obviously, you know, they're going to stand out because they're not vampires. So I just wanted the blitzers to look a little bit different, so I opted for the pure blood red cape, Bal red to be exact, with a bit of Blood Angel red for the armor. I talked about all the colours I used for the vampires last time. I haven't done anything different here. He is here as a matter of note that he is completed. So I'm not saying you'll see the rest of the Sivens needed painted up to field them in Sivens rather, but you'll probably see at least the Thralls done, I would say. But the sooner I do the other blitzer the better, since, as I say, otherwise I'll forget what I did to paint them up. But there we go. One more down for another Blood Bowl team that I'll hopefully use at some point. Although I do want to get started on the Nekahara, whatever they're called, the Tomb Kings from the 3rd season box. I'm still reading through the 3rd edition rulebook. I'm reading that piecemeal because I'm just having trouble finding the time to sit and read it. It's very enjoyable to read though, just with all the fantastic art and stuff. But that's a story for another day. Let's move on. So I hope this helps inspire you to get through your pile of grey shame. If you paint up a bunch of miniatures, that means you can buy yourself more for Christmas. It's a foolproof plan. Your significant other won't say, don't you have other things to paint? No, you don't, because you finished them. You looked at your pile of your grey shame and said, no, I've actually done all those. Well, I've done some of those. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not doing all of them. I've done some of them, so I can buy some new things. Isn't that right? And yes, you are right. So anyway, that is going to do it for 2 weeks, give or take. I'm not 100% sure. I'm almost certain I'll get one more out before the new year. It might not be 2 weeks though. It may be really close to New Year's Day. We'll see. But you'll see some more vampire related stuff for Call to Arms. You will see, hopefully, some more vampires. I'm very vampire focused. For Blood Bowl. And beyond that, I am not sure. The dog is preparing to bark at someone, so let's cut this outro short, that's the one. We're ending the video, not starting the video. And I will simply say, go paint something, enjoy the process, it's a great distraction, and stay warm. Until next time, ta-ta for now.